Think about the last time you were driving in chaotic bumper-to-bumper traffic, right? And you narrowly avoided a really bad accident.
Oh yeah, that adrenaline spike.
Exactly. Just a split-second reaction, a quick swerve, and you were safe. Or, I mean, consider something even simpler than that. Think about this morning when you walked into your kitchen, you turned on the tap, and water just, magically poured out.
Which we totally take for granted.
We really do. But what was your immediate thought in those moments? Like, was it just pure luck that kept your car safe? Was it just good municipal plumbing that got you your coffee water?
Right?
Or is there something else entirely going on right underneath the surface of those completely ordinary, mundane moments?
Well, it is remarkably easy to default to the mechanical explanation, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
we live in this heavily industrialized, very rational world where we expect a tangible, physical cause for every physical effect.
Right. If water comes out of a tap, there has to be a pipe.
Exactly. If a car stops, well, the brake pads worked.
Hmm.
But if you actually stop and look closer at the sheer statistical improbability of everything functioning perfectly all the time, that strictly mechanical view of the world starts to look, well, a little incomplete.
Yeah, and that friction between the mechanical and the invisible is exactly what we're getting into in today's deep dive. We're pulling insights from a really fascinating source material titled The Invisible Force: Recognizing the Rab in Daily Life.
It's a fantastic read.
It really is. And our mission today is to guide you through this profound and honestly somewhat radical philosophical reframing of how we view our daily experiences, our persistent anxieties, and the invisible forces that actually shape our reality. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
We are looking at a framework here that basically asks us to completely reconsider the mechanics of how we literally just get through our days.
Yeah, I mean, it is an invitation to look past the noisy mechanical surface of life. The core idea here is to look past the plumbing, past the physics of an airplane wing, and recognize a conscious, caring foundation underneath all of it.
Which is huge.
It's massive. It requires a massive shift in perspective, moving from a universe governed by blind chance and cold physics to a universe of deliberate, intentional care. But to even begin seeing this invisible force, we first have to confront the psychological blinders we wear every single day.
Right, because we are totally obsessed with what this philosophy calls the immediate. We constantly worship the immediate causes right in front of our faces.
Holy.
Like, I drive the car well so it moves safely, technology and science keep the airplane up, biology and medicine cure my cold. We see these immediate, tangible things, and we just, we hand them all the credit for our survival and our comfort.
Well, human beings are incredibly pragmatic creatures, right?
Mhm.
And there is a very real psychological mechanism behind this obsession. It's simply easier for our brains to comprehend the tangible than the invisible.
Sure, because I can see a pill, I can see an engine.
Exactly. We can measure medicine. We can study engineering. It takes a significant cognitive and honestly spiritual leap to look at a functioning machine and realize that the machine is merely a tool.
Right.
Recognizing that there is a hand guiding the tool requires a level of abstract thinking that our survival instincts usually just override.
It's like getting an incredible five-star meal delivered to your front door, right? And instead of thanking the chef who actually sourced the ingredients, developed the recipe, and cooked it, you fall to your knees and worship the delivery driver.
That is a perfect way to put it.
Right. You're pouring all your gratitude out to the guy who literally just carried the bag from the car to the porch.
We spend our entire lives praising the delivery drivers, the doctors, the engineers, the municipal planners.
They are all delivering the outcome.
Yes, but they are not the ultimate source of it. The source material we're looking at points out this feeling of being taken care of by a hidden force that has, in a very real sense, prepared breakfast for you.
But wait, if we're constantly praising the delivery driver instead of the chef, it really begs the question of why we're so easily fooled. Like, is it a biological blind spot? Are we just evolutionarily wired to only trust the predator or the food source that is physically standing right in front of us?
Oh, evolutionary biology plays a huge role here.
Yeah.
Historically, human survival depended on reacting to immediate physical threats and resources.
You couldn't just sit around analyzing things.
Right, you couldn't afford to sit around pondering the metaphysical origins of a tiger. You just had to run from the tiger.
Yeah, fair enough.
But true spiritual and cognitive magic happens when we override that wiring. There is a brilliant realization in these notes regarding tap water. When you turn on the tap and get water, the chances of that happening flawlessly are mathematically minuscule.
Oh, it's wild when you pause and realize the sheer mathematical improbability of water reaching your tap.
It really is.
The infrastructure alone is like a giant house of cards. The
Yeah.
pipes could be corroded, the municipal water supply could be compromised, there could be like a massive block in the subterranean lines.
Right.
Out of a million ways for the system to fail, there was only one right way for that water to flow into your glass, and it actually happened.
And so instead of just seeing the plumbing, the challenge is to see the fact that out of a million potential failures, the one path of success was carved out for you in that specific moment. It implies an invisible force actively maintaining the environment so that you can thrive.
But, I mean, people talk about the universe or energy all the time, right?
Sure.
So how is this concept practically any different than me just buying a bumper sticker that says the universe has my back?
Yeah.
Like, if we look past the plumbing to the chef making it all happen, is it just some blind law of physics we're trying to align with?
Well, that distinction is the linchpin of this entire philosophy. There is a very sharp contrast drawn here between blind forces and conscious forces.
Right.
Like, nobody thinks of gravity as being conscious. Gravity doesn't care if you're holding a feather, a grand piano, or a baby. It just pulls downward without prejudice. It's just happening.
Well, gravity isn't checking to see if I've had a terribly stressful week before it decides how hard I hit the pavement.
Exactly. But the force described in these notes, the force taking care of us, it provides what the author refers to as fine-tuned services.
Fine-tuned services, I like that.
It adapts to our changing, highly individualized situations. When you are sick, the environment and your biology conspire to help you eventually get better. When you need sustenance, it arrives in a form your body can process. This implies a living, invisible force with actual consciousness. It is paying attention to the nuances of your specific existence.
And this invisible caring force is given a specific Arabic title in the text, right? Rab, which translates to Lord or Sustainer, because calling it an invisible caring force gets pretty clunky, so using Rab gives it a real relational identity. And the author grounds this in a verse from the Quran that makes a really clear distinction. It essentially tells people to stop bowing down to the sun and the moon and instead bow down to the force that created the sun and the moon.
What's fascinating here is how that loops seamlessly back to your delivery driver analogy.
All right.
The sun and the moon are the ultimate cosmic delivery drivers. They are the immediate causes of light, heat, and tidal gravity, but they aren't the chef. They were just
Right.
following the recipe.
Yeah, and acknowledging a conscious chef creates a massive shift in how we interact with the world around us. We move from living in this passive, mechanical universe where things just sort of bounce off each other randomly to a highly active, relational universe.
Exactly. Because once you realize this force is alive and conscious, your approach to daily life has to evolve into a kind of active research. You start studying your environment in detail to understand how you are being cared for. You start wanting to communicate with it, to show gratitude.
There is a great line in the text where this attempt to communicate with a conscious force is compared to sending a signal to the aliens.
I love that line.
It is such a vulnerable, deeply human way to put it. You're just broadcasting your thoughts out into the ether, hoping the invisible force taking care of your life picks up the frequency so you can say thanks.
It requires immense vulnerability to live that way. But if the universe is actively relational, then absolutely nothing is truly random.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting because I have to push back on this premise just a bit.
Sure, go ahead.
If this Rab is so loving, and if it's consciously providing these fine-tuned services to take care of us, why are we dealing with the constant threat of global conflicts, illnesses, and crippling daily anxieties? The notes literally mention the fear of World War III.
They do, yeah.
If the universe is such a caring place run by a conscious sustainer, why does it feel so chaotic, violent, and frankly terrifying to us most of the time?
That is the big question. The problem of chaos and human suffering is the ultimate roadblock for any framework like this. To address it, we have to look at a radical reframing of how we experience what we culturally label as good and bad events.
Okay.
This philosophy argues that once you truly comprehend the loving nature of the Rab, you also have to accept that the events in your life are completely controlled. They use the analogy of day and night. Day and night happen regardless of our desires or our personal schedules. They were controlled by the Rab.
Right, and we don't worry about day and night. We don't drop to our knees and cry our hearts out when it gets dark outside. We just, turn on a lamp and accept the change.
Exactly. So if you apply that logic to everything else, then every chaotic event is just the sun setting. We normally operate under the assumption that when everything is going smoothly, when we get the promotion, when our health is great, it means God is pleased with us.
Right.
And when things go tragically wrong, we think it means God is punishing us.
Oh, man. The classic, what did I do to deserve this mindset that we all fall into when a tire blows out on the highway.
We all do it. But this framework completely dismantles that mindset. Both the smooth sailing and the difficult, heartbreaking hardships happen because the Rab loves us. Life is not a courtroom where we are being judged and penalized in real time.
Yeah.
Life is a training experience.
That's a training experience.
Yes, the universe is a meticulously designed curriculum for our spiritual and cognitive growth.
There is an analogy used to explain this curriculum that compares life to watching a movie. When you buy a ticket at the theater, you are paying to sit through a story that has happy parts, incredibly boring parts, heartbreaks, and terrifying scenes.
Right.
You sit through all of it to get the full, enriching experience of the narrative. The argument is that life is the exact same way. We are here to be trained by the full spectrum of the experience.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really changes how we process hardship.
But wait, sitting in a movie theater is safe? Like if the screen shows a horrific car crash, I'm just sitting there eating popcorn. I know it's fake.
Right.
In real life, when a tragedy hits, I'm the one in the car. It physically and emotionally hurts. How does a framework like this expect us to just passively sit in the theater of life while our realities fall apart? We can't just pretend the pain isn't real.
No. And you are touching on the exact friction that makes human existence so difficult. The pain is biologically and emotionally real. There's absolutely no denying that. But from the perspective of the Rob, that pain is the necessary friction required for growth.
Like working out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A muscle only grows when you tear the fibers through resistance training. The movie analogy isn't suggesting we shouldn't feel the pain. It's suggesting that the pain, much like a scary scene in a film, is temporary and serves a larger narrative purpose.
I see.
The terror feels all-encompassing in the moment, but the director knows this scene is going to end.
So the goal isn't to numb the pain, but to change our expectation of it, which ties into another fascinating comparison drawn between skydiving and the daily difficulties of life.
Oh, this part is brilliant.
Why is it that people will excitedly invoke God while they are skydiving? They might pray for a safe landing or feel a profound spiritual high on the way down, but when a sudden difficulty happens in their daily life, like losing a job, they completely break down in despair.
Because both situations involve a terrifying loss of physical control. But the difference is entirely about expectation. Skydiving is a planned test.
A planned test.
Yes. When you walk up to the plane, you are mentally prepared for the fear. You are actively expecting the adrenaline and the danger. But life's difficulties are surprise tests. They are unexpected visitors.
That makes so much sense.
When a surprise test hits, your nervous system gets tense and overwhelmed, specifically because you weren't mentally bracing for impact.
Life tests are surprise tests. That actually shifts the perspective completely. And, there is a very heavy, profound observation made here regarding suicide.
Yeah, that part is very intense.
The framework suggests that when people take their own lives, they are essentially trying to make death a planned event so that they can be mentally prepared for it, rather than living in the constant, agonizing terror of life's unexpected surprise tests.
It is a sobering observation. It highlights just how desperately human beings crave predictability.
Mm-hmm.
We are terrified of the surprise test because it exposes our utter lack of control.
Right.
To counter that terror, the only viable way to live is to remain spiritually on alert, to embrace the fact that facing life is a lifelong, thrilling experience, arguably more thrilling than skydiving, precisely because you don't know when the jump is happening.
But you can't really study for a surprise test in the traditional sense, can you? If I don't know whether tomorrow brings a financial crisis or a health scare, I can't just go read the right textbook to prepare.
Well, you cannot prepare for this specific logistical event, no. But there is a final, ultimate test that we absolutely can prepare for. And ironically, human beings usually focus their anxiety on entirely the wrong part of it.
We're talking about the end of the line, death.
Yes.
There is a conversation recounted in these notes where someone casually says, "Death is nothing," which sounds completely absurd at first glance.
It does.
It is the ultimate unknown, the biggest fear most humans harbor. How can death be nothing?
Well, it sounds absurd until you filter it through the framework of the Rab. Within this worldview, the physical act of dying is just another transition. It is no different than night turning into day.
Just a scene change.
Exactly. It is merely an event. And as we established with the movie analogy, the events themselves don't really matter.
Yeah.
The true difficulty, the real test that requires preparation, is not the act of dying. It is the questioning by the Creator on the day of judgment regarding our actions.
Because everyone obsesses over the physical mechanics of death. We worry about how it will happen, when it will happen, whether it will hurt. But almost nobody spends their daily life obsessing over the questioning that supposedly follows it.
Right? We obsess over the immediate cause, the failing heart, the car crash, and we ignore the ultimate reality. This leads to a concluding dual nature formula for how we prepare for both the surprise tests of life and the planned test of eternity.
And what's that formula?
It's this. We prepare ourselves to face this life by improving our thinking. We prepare ourselves to face God by improving our actions.
So what does this all mean? Let's break that formula down, because improving thinking versus improving actions sounds great on a bumper sticker, but what does that actually look like on a random Tuesday?
Okay, let's use the traffic jam from your introduction. Improving your thinking is how you handle the physical, immediate world. When you are stuck in gridlock and you're late for a meeting, your immediate biological reaction is rage and stress.
Oh yeah, blood pressure through the roof.
Exactly. Improving your thinking means cognitively reframing that moment. You recognize that the immediate cause, the slow cars, isn't in charge. You realize the RAB is in control of the events, and this delay is a curriculum. It stops you from breaking down internally.
It builds an internal resilience. Like you stop raging against the screen at the movie theater and just watch the scene play out.
Precisely. But internal resilience isn't enough for the ultimate test. To face the questioning, you must improve your actions.
Because actions are the external output.
Yes, they are the currency required for the invisible spiritual reality. Improving your thinking keeps your blood pressure down in the traffic jam. Improving your actions means you don't roll down your window and scream at the person who cut you off.
Ah, I see.
Your thinking gets you safely through the surprise tests of the physical world. Your actions are what you are evaluated on when the curriculum ends.
It's like we spend our entire lives sitting in a classroom, absolutely terrified of the school bell ringing to end the period. We dread the sound of the bell. That bell is death.
That's a great analogy.
But we should actually be terrified of the final exam we have to hand to the teacher on our way out the door. The exam is the questioning.
And we are so completely consumed by the fear of the bell ringing that we forget to fill out the exam paper sitting on our desks. By consciously improving our actions, by treating others with compassion, by showing gratitude, by acting ethically, we are systematically answering the questions on the exam before the bell even rings.
This has been quite the philosophical journey. We started by simply turning on a kitchen tap and realizing we've spent our lives worshiping the delivery driver, the plumbing, the municipal systems, the immediate causes, instead of acknowledging the chef.
We really have.
We explored the concept of a conscious, caring RAB that provides fine-tuned services tailored to our lives, rather than just trusting a blind, indifferent law of gravity.
And we tackled the problem of chaos, reframing how we view the terrifying parts of the world. By seeing events as strictly controlled variables, much like the transition from day to night, we can start to view both good and bad experiences as necessary friction.
Yeah, training tools.
Exactly. Training tools born out of a profound, albeit sometimes painful, love.
And we learned that surviving life's constant barrage of surprise tests isn't about figuring out how to dodge the test altogether. It's about fundamentally improving our internal thinking so we can withstand the unexpected shocks, while simultaneously improving our external actions so we are fully prepared for the ultimate questioning when the movie finally ends.
For you listening to this, I want to offer a quick word of grounding. We've just processed a massive metaphysical framework, and it is very easy to feel a sense of information overload.
Oh, totally. It's a lot.
It is. But the beauty of this approach is that applying it doesn't require you to go out and memorize 100 new facts or adopt a rigid new daily schedule. It simply requires you to slow down, to cut out the mechanical noise of your routine.
Just take a breath.
Yes. The next time you encounter something perfectly ordinary, the water from your tap, the sunlight warming your car, the fact that your brakes worked, just practice noticing the invisible force that is already working overtime to take care of you.
It really is a complete perspective shift from the mechanical to the magical. So I'm going to leave you with one final thought to mull over as you go about the rest of your day.
Yeah.
The premise here is that getting water from a tap is essentially a localized miracle, with only one right outcome navigating past a million potential failures. If you truly start believing that every single mundane thing that goes right in your day is a highly personalized, fine-tuned message from an invisible, caring force, how does that radically change the way you respond to tomorrow's very first surprise test?